Well, good morning. Thank you for joining me today as we come back to this midweek opportunity to take some time in the truth. We're in Exodus chapter 2. Yesterday, we saw the account of Moses, now an adult, killing the Egyptian guard, burying him in the sand. The issue being made known publicly then caused Moses to flee from Egypt to the land of Midian, where the end of verse 15 left him by the well at Midian. And so today we're going to pick it up in chapter 16, or verse 16, down through verse 22, to look and see what the narrative unfolds from there as we consider it this morning. So beginning in verse 16 of chapter 2, the scripture says, "Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and filled the troughs of water, or to water their father's flock." So we're introduced to some new characters in the narrative. We have these daughters of the priest of Midian. We're going to find the name of the priest of Midian named farther down here in the narrative as Reuel. Reuel is also referred to in scripture as Jethro later on in the book of Exodus. Both men are the same one, just using 2 different names to describe him. This man is a priest in Midian, so he would be a man of some status there. And he has 7 daughters, which is very clearly stated. And his daughters daily have to water the flocks. And so they go down to the well daily, have to fill the troughs with water, and then allow the flocks to drink. As we go on then in verse 17, the shepherds came and drove them away. So I would imagine, and this is my speculation, but it makes sense, I would imagine that this wasn't a one-time thing, that there was a pattern of these other shepherds, who I'm guessing would have been men because they're shepherds, not shepherdesses, coming to the well and not allowing the daughters of Reuel to get to the well in order to fill the trough, in order to water their flocks. They hassled them. They gave them a hard time, antagonized them. And so my best guess is that this wasn't a one-time situation. This was happening on a regular basis. And that again is based in the fact that as they come home here in the narrative later on, their father is going to be surprised at how quickly they came back. So there must have been a pattern established there where these other shepherds were preventing his daughters for time over, while they were there anyway, from watering their flocks. And so they're there, they're being hassled by these shepherds. The second half of verse 17 says, "But Moses stood up and saved them and watered their flock." And so Moses, who's there by the well, observes the mistreatment of these 7 ladies, and he decides his course of action will be to defend them. And so he rises up. However he saved them, somehow he chased off the other shepherds. Could it have been because of his appearance? Potentially. He's dressed as an Egyptian. We're going to see that the ladies identify him as an Egyptian in the narrative coming up. So was there some intimidation factor to the fact that he's an Egyptian? Did he physically remove them? Did he just stand up to them and that was enough to make them turn away? All of those scenarios are possible. All we know from scripture is that he saved them. So he didn't allow these men to continue to give a hard time to the daughters of Midian. And then once he solved that problem, he went ahead and drew the water from the well, filled the trough so that the sheep could get a drink. And so he helped in every way in this situation. He defended them, and then he ministered to them by filling the trough with water so the flocks could drink. Verse 18 describes what happens next. When they came home to their father Reuel, he said, "How is it that you've come so soon today?" And so, again, obviously, to me, it appears as though this was a normal situation, that his daughters got a hassle from these men on a regular basis, because it wouldn't be unusual for them to come home early if it wasn't an ongoing situation. But he notices something unusual. Something changed about their circumstance today. And so he questions the change. How is it that you've come back so soon? Normally you would be, an hour later or 2 hours later, however long, but you wouldn't normally get home this early. And so their answer comes in verse 19. And they said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and even drew water for us and watered the flock." And so they revealed to their father what took place. They were hassling us, yes, but there was this Egyptian man there. We'd never seen him before. They had never seen him before, but he was willing to stand in our place. He put down the shepherds. He took care of the situation with them. And then beyond that, he didn't just save us from the shepherds, but he did all the work. He made it possible for the flocks to be watered today. The fact that they knew he was Egyptian, or they assumed that he was Egyptian, my best guess is that they noticed the difference in how he was dressed. His appearance was different. Maybe they had seen Egyptians traveling through their area in the past, and the dress looked the same. His makeup, Egyptian men wore makeup of certain kinds. I'm convinced of that. So maybe by his appearance, they knew that he was Egyptian. Possibly even speech would be another way when he spoke to the shepherds. What language was he speaking? That I don't know. I would assume it was Egyptian at first. Maybe he, I don't know. I wasn't there. So anyway, there were some things that set him apart, that determined for these women who were observing him that he was an Egyptian, and they clearly identify him as such. And so he took care of the situation, and he watered the flocks. Verse 20, and so Reuel responds to their answer. He said to his daughters, "Then where is he? Why have you left the man? Call him that he may eat bread." So right away, Reuel wants to respond to the kindness of Moses, and he just asks his daughters right away, "Where is he? Didn't you bring him home? Then why didn't you bring him here? Why did you leave him there?" I want you to go find him. Go call him. Get him here so we can bless him by giving him food, and we can minister to him the way that he ministered to you. We can meet his needs the way he met your needs. And so obviously the daughters go and they find him, call him, or whatever that looks like. And Moses comes. And he begins to spend the rest of that day and then many more days with Reuel and his family, as the narrative continues in verse 21. And Moses was content to dwell with the man. So he comes that initial time, and they minister to his need now. They feed him. They, maybe he needs a bath by then. Whatever personal needs he had, they were taken care of by Reuel and his family. And obviously there must have been some form of invitation. It seems to me obvious that there was some form of invitation that was extended from Reuel to Moses. "Why don't you stay here?" Because I just can't imagine him just coming and saying, "Okay, well, I'm just going to hang out here then." It seems to me like Reuel must have offered some, maybe through their conversation around the dinner table or whatever. They found out that he was sojourning in Midian. He was going to be there. He wasn't planning to leave there. What that discussion looked like, we don't know. But it seems to me like there must have been some kind of an invitation offered. Would you stay here? We'll give you a place. You can stay with us and help us with our household needs and the flocks and all of that. Would you stay here? There's no indication here. I just happen to think that there's no indication here that Reuel had any sons at all. Just says he had 7 daughters. And so Moses maybe in a way becomes the adopted son of Reuel. So he stays with them and he lives with them for some time. And then goes on in the end of verse 21 and says that he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah. So he came, he dwelt with them, however long that period of time was. And then over time, as Moses has built a relationship with Reuel and his family, Reuel offers to Moses a wife. I'm going to give you my daughter to be your wife. And Moses accepts. And the beginning of this family for Moses is pictured. And so verse 22 then gives us the next step in the process. It says, she gave birth to a son and called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land. And so Zipporah obviously conceives. She bears a son. So now we know that time has gone by. That takes 9 months at least. So how long exactly has Moses been with Reuel and his family? Well, there's no clear indication here that I can find that tells me how long it was. He came to them on a particular day. He started dwelling with them. How long was the dwelling? Well, there's no answer for that. He gets Zipporah as his wife, and then there's a baby 9 months or so later. And so the time frame is really unknown to us, and it's ultimately not significant. We will find out in the narrative how long Moses was actually in Midian altogether to that point in the narrative, but right now we don't know what that number looks like. And so they give the baby a name, and his name is Gershom. And Gershom is related to the idea that Moses has been a sojourner in a foreign land. He's been living in Midian. And so the name Gershom is the name that's given to their son. So again, we're looking at the work of God. How does God work to accomplish his purpose? We see the blessing of God as Moses goes forward. And it's a joy, again, just to look at how God works out the details, how he puts people in the right places to do the right things to accomplish his purpose. Moses by the well. Now, all of a sudden, here comes these 7 daughters who are being hassled by these shepherds, and Moses steps in and puts an end to that and then serves them. And the flip side of that is that their father is so thankful for what he's done that he invites him in. He lives with them. All these things fitting together in God's purpose to accomplish his will. And so all the pieces, like Joseph's life, all the pieces coming together ultimately to fulfill the purpose of God in each person's life. Well, thanks for taking time in the truth with me today. We're going to stop there. We'll pick up the rest of this chapter tomorrow as we look at the end of chapter 2 and maybe even a little bit into chapter 3 as we continue tomorrow. But I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much for taking time in the truth with me today. And I'll look forward to opportunities to serve God today. I hope you will too. And be an encouragement to those around you today, those fellow believers, even those who are not believers, who need encouragement in your life. Be an encourager. Help them the way that Moses helped the daughters of Reuel. minister as God gives you opportunity. Well, thanks for joining me today again, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day in the Lord.